Welcome to Insight Talks, brought to you by Outlook in association with Johnson Tiles. This is a conversation series with architects and designers. It's not typically about their landmark projects or awards they won. It's about them as a person, as a creator, a master, and a learner. The interviews are taken by filmmaker Aradhana Seth in very informal and free-flowing style. And let me tell you, every conversation has very interesting and inspiring stories. Hello and Namaste, I am Dinesh Vyas and once again I welcome you to Insight Talks brought to you by Outlook in association with Prism Johnson. In this episode, you will meet Mumbai-based architect Mr. Khozema Chitalwala. He is a prominent name in the architecture fraternity for over 3 decades, particularly when it comes to hospitality. Architect Khozema is founder of the Mumbai-based architecture and design studio, The Designers Group. He is associated with prominent chains in hospitality industry and is on the preferred designers list of almost all the Indian and global brands. He is very tech savvy and as a person, he has very good sense of humor. एंड ही टॉक्स हिज हार्ट आउट. मतलब मस्त इंसान है, उनसे बात करके आपको सिर्फ ज्ञान नहीं आनंद की भी प्राप्ति होगी. आई एम श्योर यू विल एंजॉय हिज वेरी इंसाइटफुल कन्वर्सेशन विद आराधना सेठ. लेट अस ज्वाइन हिम एट इनसाइट टॉक्स.
Oh, how did you become an architect? What led you to be an architect?
So to be honest enough, I come from an era where there were only 2 professions, engineering and medicine. And since my brother had become an engineer, I always intended, I and my family always inspired that I should become a doctor. But I missed out on that chance. And I'm an architect by fluke. I met some friends in that vacation and they were doing architecture. And fortunately for me, I visited the college. Our college at that point of time, which is Academy of Architecture, Aradhana Seth, was like a Gurukul. And I got so inspired by that environment that I decided I will join architecture. When I joined architecture and I was cleaning all my files and arranging my papers, I realized that in school I had given IQ test and they had given me that opportunity of or suggested me doing creative science, which is architecture and interior. So probably I think so. Finally the destiny took me there in the right direction, and I'm very happy being an architect.
How did that journey go?
My first boss was architect Tawfiq Talib, who taught me how to hold the pencil and roll the pencil, because there was no AutoCAD at that point of time. So we used to take he taught me how to hold the set square, P square, and then roll the pencil so that the pointer doesn't go bad enough while drafting, and it lasts for much more longer time. And I worked all throughout my 5 years.
And then after that, at some point you decided to set up your own firm.
Yeah, so fortunately for me, I think so, I and Sujata, my wife, she is part of Designers Group. We both started this firm, and we met in one of the offices where we were working together with architect Sunil Sardekar. And Sujata has done interiors and textile. So when she had finished her interior designing and she got an opportunity to do something, and I was here doing my architecture. She came to me, probably we were destined to meet, and we were supposed to start our practice. Sujata invited me to join her to execute one of the projects. It started with a very small office of around 400 odd square feet, and then with kitchens and bedrooms, and she kept on, she got in, I got in. So before I could complete my architecture, we had interior practice which was already started, and we both were doing good. It took us around 4-5 years before we got married, and we thought that we were both, for both of us, we were the most compatible ones because we understood each other very, very well. And so we took a very thoughtful and a logical decision that we should get married rather than getting married to somebody else. Today we specialize in hospitality. We work only on, most of our projects are hospitality projects. And fortunately we are working with all the brands of the globe. So you name it, from Taj to Marriott to Hilton to anybody is with. We are there on their preferred designers list, and we are very honored to be there. And at point of time, we have worked hard enough to get over there also. But in our early part of our career, we used to do everything and anything. There is one gentleman which I would like to mention in my life who has changed my complete career, and that is he is Mr. Sampat Kumar. It was one of the evenings when I was doing a project for Vocard in Daman, and in 1994 or something like that, and we were in one of the later part of the evening, we were both sitting and having dinner. His most favorite butter fried prawns, and I shared with him that I have been trying to get into hospitality because he had worked with Oberoi's, he had worked with Glaxo, he had worked with, and in Oberoi's he had spent good amount of time as a project vice president project. So I was just sharing with him that I am trying to pitch in a lot of hospitality things and I am not getting the break as such. So in '99 I got a call from him. So we worked in Vocard together for years. Then in between he left Vocard, he moved somewhere else, and then again in '99 he connected with me and he said that, Khozema, I am back in hospitality. This is the time to make your dream realize. And this is the words he used, and I don't think so I can forget these words, because that is the point where I got into hospitality. And once I got that taste, I said, I would say that complete team at that point of time decided that we will do a hospitality. And that made us that has created a niche for us today.
And what is it that you so enjoy about?
All hotels are public spaces. Now the biggest challenge always is that you need to create, every individual hotel has its own characteristics, has its own, I would say, identity, depending on the grade of hotel, whether it's a 3-star or 4 or 5, whatever it may be. And that is the challenge which was very exciting and thrilling for me, because in several locations in a radius of 5 kilometers we have done 2 and 3 hotels, and all stand apart. All of them look different. It is not that one of them there would definitely be a signature which I would be leaving consciously or unconsciously. But having said so, everything what we did was different, because each had his own identity, each has his own characteristics, and that is what excites me the most.
And you also have the expertise of architecture and interior.
I am very proud to say we are one of the odd firms in the industry who would be doing architecture and interior both together in hospitality, and that too also in BEAM. We have led the team and we have created a team who would design in BEAM for interiors, because our projects, whatever architecture, not only for the architecture which we do, but we are working with several reputed architects all across India, where they are doing architecture and we are doing interiors. So we yet translate our files into BEAM and we try and implement that, because we feel that this is the next level of practice which will have to be created in future, in days to come.
So actually, leading from this, in which other ways do you marry architecture and technology in the way that you do?
they can't be separated because it's a very progressive and evolving era in which we are living. So from the days where I said that we used T squares and set squares on a drafting board to what we are doing it today. And to be honest enough, most of our seniors, associates as well as me, we have gone paperless. Today we are ready that we will not even issue drawings to the site. We'll only issue iPads. We'll ask them to carry their iPad and print what is required only, and not go around just printing papers and be a little more green and conscious about it.
How you faced COVID and the challenges and the positives?
For us, COVID was, as for all, it was a challenging time. The most unfortunate part was that we had all the data, we had all IT connections, but we were not on cloud. We realized that we can virtually discuss, ideate, we can do some sketching, scribbling, spread all around, throw it around the team, and then we could develop that. But the biggest challenge we faced was that we realized that our business is not only about ideating and designing, but it is a lot about color, textures, feel, and that was something which was missing. We couldn't stay too long away from office, and it was in June, I think so, we decided, May or June, we decided that we'll renovate our office. Because this was the best time we could get. We took the front area of the office and we had to already build a IT backbone for ourselves, because we thought that, we realized that this is going to take a while, so we better put all our data on cloud. So in the month of June, we created and we put all our data on cloud in order to move further ahead. So now we are 100% IT. We built up a conferencing facility. We brought in a lot of other things in terms of technology to keep ourselves updated. At the same time, we wanted to challenge ourselves, and we got a brilliant opportunity. We do a lot of selection brand of hotels by IHCL. IHCL is a Taj parent company, and we got an opportunity to do something in Haridwar, which was such a beautiful location that, having seen the pictures, we felt that this is something which is worth exploring. And I think so. It's a wonderful product which has come. It was a very old, dilapidated Haveli which we restored back. And for us, the challenge was, the project guy was Ankur Singh was brilliant, our team was brilliant, they all did an architect, Madhu Shankar from Pradeep Sachdeva office also, we all collaborated in such a brilliant, and synergy was created that we signed up the project in the month of April, and 21 June, we inaugurated the property. We firmly believe that each property has to have an identity, each property has to talk about the local nuances, and that is what creates an identity. Whether it's a 3-star property or a 5-star property, it has to have that. We try to understand Hindu religion, philosophies, and it is the complete storyline or the philosophy or narration is based out of Purushartha. So complete project has been built on Purushartha, and lot of references of Shivji are being brought in a very contemporary form, not being very obvious as a part of the religion. But if you look at the Pilibhit house door, you find that it's in blue color. You find that there is a Nandi in the courtyard which is again a blue color, Neelkant color, I would say. So a Nandi is a Nandi. It could have been a black stone, but we wanted to represent Shivji. The artwork behind is created out of Rudraksh. So presence of Shiv, because Haridwar is also a gateway, known as a gateway to Char Dham. So that what influence, although Haridwar is all about Vishnu, but then Shiv has a more stronger prominence in terms of, there are a lot of people who come here to Haridwar before going to the Char Dham Yatra. And then finally, the most important part is the moksha, which is being used for Gangaji. So Ganga Snan is during the life and after the life. Apart from what you see in front as a part of aesthetic, there is a lot of engineering and a fine line defining the back of the house spaces and the front of the house spaces. You don't find people walking in uniforms, in dungarees, in all around in the lobbies. So that architecture planning is very, very important for us, and that is something which we always, whenever we work with other architects also, which I feel that if the gentleman or the architect is open, we would be more than happy to suggest him that these are the correction, because these assets are made for lifetime, and one wrong decision can lead you to a recurring expense or human power requirement for probably next 50 years or 100 years.
Can you talk about materials?
When we present a project, we present it with the mood boards. So the mood boards carry materials. It could be depending on the budget, depending on where we are, what detailing are we using, what kind of climatic conditions are there. So all those are relevant over here. For example, we are currently using jute rugs, and they are very beautifully made. I always felt that they look like a mat, but they are not. They are wonderfully designed now. We got a vendor who would be able to do it for us. So every time, whenever we progress, we try and see what is the best relevant material. So when we present it to a client, we present it the complete holistic view about it.
And what about flooring material?
Flooring, it all depends. It all depends whether we want to use stone, tiles. For example, I would again go back to Pilipit House. Actually, we wanted to do stone inlays over there, but the kind of cost was humongous. So it was a huge cost which was there. So we restored back to tiles, and we got those design in tiles incorporated. So they were brilliant combinations which we created using stone, tiles in the right manner, which could be used for. So it all depends. Most of the bathrooms we started using tiles. Stone used to be the palette, but as a matter of fact, we are using a lot of Indian stone as well. We did Radisson Alibag lobby, which is surely absolutely finished in Kota.
You know, you mentioned that within a very short radius you have hotel projects that look very different to each other.
We always try to find a contextual reference which could lead us to help us in creating a lot of other things. For example, we used the Google Maps, and we identified the location between Bombay to Goregaon and pinpointed them, and we created a background wall which was with the art of that. So that is something we do. For example, when we are doing Fairfield, we are trying to do a very nice collages of Mumbai Lifeline. So Mumbai Lifeline is basically BST buses, railway lines, dabawalas, taxis. We do even a lot of texturization in terms of material, stones. We use several things, wood, and we are doing some parametric art also in Fairfield. Our Mumbai airport has helped us in visualizing it much more better.
Yes.
I
think what would be interesting is this back to this idea of sustainability, where you talk about paperless in one way, but in terms of projects itself, how do you bring that in to your projects?
I feel that Indian hospitality has always been very conscious about energy, because one of the largest cost is of operation is energy cost, and it's a guzzler, I would say. And we always have been very conscious. We always incorporated STP, we always incorporated solar panels, we always incorporated the way the energy could be conserved, how can heat be retrieved from air condition, and all those kind of things always have been part and parcel of the project. It is by default. So those sustainability factors are much more higher than any other commercial projects in hospitality. I would say that most of the IT buildings and the hospitality buildings are very conscious about what we are there to do.
And that you do through materiality?
Not through probably materiality is something where when we want to get a certification or kind of a thing, we would definitely look at local materials and kind of thing. But again, we have done some few eco-hotels and we have tried to be green. We did one in Ahmedabad, we are one in Mumbai, that is a Fun is a brand who does eco-hotel brand. But it all depends upon what level of environment we want to reach out in interiors, because there are limitations in interiors. There are few challenges in interiors in terms of being more eco-friendly, because most of the materials, there are not too many defined norms also for interiors in terms of green environment.
So will you tell us a little bit about the evolution of flooring from the time that you began your practice, or even from when you studied the practice to now?
So when I studied, there was only, I don't think so, we only knew marble as one of the flooring. But today, I think so, there is a lot of change. We are looking at more greener environment. Marble is become really very expensive, high on maintenance. So we are using a lot of brilliant tiles which are available, which actually replicates the stones. So things are available. It has its own detailing challenge, but we are managing. I believe, for example, a lot of bathrooms in hospitality, we have stopped using stones. We have migrated to tiles and tiles of larger sizes.
And what do you look for when you look at the tiles?
So it depends on the use and where it has been used. So whether we want to use single charge or double charge, or the way it is, most of the time we don't use charge tiles. We prefer matte tiles, because high the gloss, I think so the reflection is very high, and all the flaws in the tile are that undulations and other things starts bringing up. But if it is used in a bathroom where there is no direct sunlight or kind of thing, and if you are using a glazed tile, it works. So which location, which part, what kind of tiles we want. So color, texture, wet finishes. So we are not only doing that, but we have started going one step ahead. In order to create patterns, we take a larger size and we start cutting them, chopping down to create more patterns out of it.
If you had to start today in your profession, how would you do it differently? How would you do it similarly? How would you look at it if you were a young architect today, looking in a mirror at yourself?
I had to rush up because my practice was growing other side. That is the precise reason I felt that I feel. But sometimes I feel that if I had worked for a little while and probably gained more experience to establish my processes in my office, would have been much more easier, and it would have taken much more lesser time. That is one part of it. Secondly, I have a feeling that practices are changing drastically and dramatically. Today, what we see would have never existed a couple of years back. So I would suggest that if I had to start, I would go back, learn few more things, especially learn the way the architecture and the contextuality of the architecture is being created in much more in depth. Because there was a time when we used to create concept after creating architecture. Today, it has taken me 20 years, believe me, more than probably 30 years. After that, I can talk today that today I create narration first and then create a concept and planning. When we are doing presentation, I feel that When a lot of practices I see my colleagues, my friends, internationally also, they talk about narration concept for probably 70-80% of the time and talk about design in 30% of time. So narration has become so much important for us, and to do that, I think so we need to work, get experience, and that only we can do that. Even the presentation quality has to be much more better than what we are doing currently, because हमारे पास एक थोड़ा डीएनए में एक प्रॉब्लम है वो जुगाड़ का. सो हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि थोड़ा चलता है, इसमें धक्का मार देते हैं. बट आई थिंक सो इफ वी स्टार्ट लुकिंग एट द फाइनर एस्पेक्ट ऑफ इट, probably our design and our practices are absolutely, I would say, better than international. We do have to learn a lot of things in terms of processes which are there, and for that you have to work. That's a message which I would like to even say to the young budding architects and designers, because they feel that and I feel that was a mistake which we did. Probably I and Sujata both did. We got an opportunity, we took the opportunity, and we thought that we would be. But if this was, I would have been, if I would have worked for 5 years, given a firm a 5 years process, and probably then I would have started my practice, probably I think so I would have accomplished what I am today, probably 5 years ahead. At least 5 years ahead. There are a lot of niche practices which are emerging, and those niche practices, you need to identify yourself where you want to see yourself tomorrow.
If you were looking at other architects today that have been have been around you, whether they are older or younger, which are the buildings other than your own that you would admire, or who are the architects?
So always my biggest inspiration has been Frank Lloyd Wright. I always loved his building, the way he created, the way he detailed each and everything. And I always feel an architects work on a meter scale, an interior designer works on millimeter. But today what we are doing here is we are trying to bring millimeter everywhere. In retail, we used to do a lot of Titan stores. So before we did Titan store, we did, Akbar Ali's used to be one of the brilliant outlet when there were no shopping centers or anchor shops which used to be there. They were one of the biggest shopping outlets, and I did all these stores for them. All these stores, and the Chembur was one of the most memorable one, because they celebrated 100 years or 125 years at that point of time, and we finished in I think so. It was 125th year celebration, and we finished it 125 days. We have done several hotels, several of them. Few of them are very brilliant, award winnings, but at the same point of time, I always feel that you can't do injustice to 3-star product and a 5-star product. It needs to be a 3-star. Somebody who is going to, when we design 3-star, we want to give them an edge over it. And I always feel that people, when they see a hotel, they don't see the architecture first. They don't expect hotel buildings to be very exciting up till it's a glass facade. And glass facade is something which is not conducive everywhere. Everywhere you can't use glass facade. So you will find those pocket windows, and you will find them in repetition in such a way that your elevation becomes very typical. Your building becomes really very typical. But most of the time, you yourself, when you have gone and walked into a hotel, you will go into the lobby and you will admire and you will say, wow. Or you will make a judgment over there, not looking at the building. So this is one public building where you need to go into interior spaces in order to experience yourself. And whenever there are good friends around, they appreciate most of the work which you do. So it is very difficult for me to identify and tell that this is the great building which I did. I think so I will leave it to other people. But I would say that one thing which I would like to very well mention in this, and this is something which I am working towards it, there is a lot of hospitality development which is likely to happen in B and C class city. I have started engaging, and I feel that it would be the right process. Engaging a lot of local talent over there. And we want a lot of local architects to come forward. And if they feel that they want anything in expertise, they can always come back to us. We will do our role, and we want them to play the major role in terms of doing architecture or doing the local work over there, ground field. Because we at Designers Group all feel about it that we have got a huge database. We have collected so much of information, so much of it, and we want to spread it now because India is on a verge of growth. Having to sustain that, we require good and better designers over here. Somebody who has a great understanding for hospitality, and I would say I would like to share it with the people who are there so that in days to come we have more healthier, better designs, flawless designs with whatever best I can do in terms of sharing with the young talent over in B and C cities. So, and we are already doing it in a lot of cities. Another problem which we definitely face is when I was talking about myself and understanding the process, a lot of young talent does not understand that design creation is only a part of our process. Design documentation and design execution is another part of it. Probably you can relieve yourself from design execution to a certain extent, but you have to do design QC. But the most important part after having designed is the design documentation. And to follow that process, most of the time, especially the interior designers, unfortunately our academics are not that groomed to that level. They fail to produce that design documentation. Because for me, I have got a data of the first property which I did today also. Because that is most important for us. Tomorrow if some client calls me up and tells me after 15 years that I need a renovation, I should have that data. So it's a process, and that process is something which is missing most of the time. Our as I said, that chalta hai kind of thing, we do, in our DNA Designers Group, we don't go and do sketches on the wall at the side. ये नहीं पसंद है, ये तोड़ दो. That is not our DNA. We feel that you should experiment on the paper as much as possible. Try and create those kind of damages as minimal as possible. We need to document that, and it should be documented very well as a process. So in our process, we have for design documentation, we have fixed code numbers for each of the drawings. We have fixed code for each of the material which we use. So any kind of material, whether it is wood, glass, water, there are fixed codes for it. And our beam library carries that code. We keep on upgrading them, updating them, that if we need more, we create more codes for it. So those are the codes which apply, and that material gets applied. We have started logging every minute for a project. So our every minute induced in the project, because we never realize that whether a project is giving us revenue, which is at the end of the project, or a B project is giving, because हम तो काम कर रहे हैं, हमारा काम चल रहा है, client demand कर रहा है, हम लोग produce कर रहे हैं और दे रहे हैं. We log and we create that man-hour log before we even code the project. We are talking about we are going to consume 6,000 hours, 9,000 hours, or 12,000 hours, depending on the project size, detailing, scale, the degree, the category of project. And then once we have done that, we say that this is our margins. Most of the client wants to negotiate. We tell them this is the margin. Please learn, or otherwise I will give you pay me as per man hours, and I would be more than happy to give you access to my server.
How do you hire young architects?
Fortunately for us, touch wood, my team is more than 50-60% are 10 years old. So they have, because for us, when a fresher comes in, we invest anything between 6 months to 2 years to groom him or her to a level where they start giving actual production to us. And we are using a lot of fresh talent, which we feel it keeps our balances right. And at the same time, it is more easy when I have to introduce, especially the interior designers, for BIM. Because BIM is one, if somebody is used to doing 2D drawings, then visualizing it in 3D is always a challenge. It's a big challenge. To understand that process, somebody, we feel that कोरे कागज पे लिखना आसान है.
Yes.
These insight talks will acquaint you with the architect's professional approach, values that they respect and expect, their philosophy, and above all, how they look at life, other people, and this very planet. Let us join the respected professional at Insight Studio. And just to add, Prism Johnson is engaged with the fraternity of designers in multiple ways, which includes publication of reputed journal Insight. You can also receive very rich and professional content by subscribing to the newsletter from insightreview.in. Thank you very much.